Good morning, everyone. Come on in. Should be an interesting one. NFP is up at the bottom of the hour. We have had a reasonable amount of movement tonight, last night, this morning, whichever it happens to be for you. And we're in a very precarious spot. So real quickly, just to put the context, and this is how I trade. So, if you're not a TRG person, this is open to the public to kind of look over my shoulder. I have a very specific way of playing these kind of economic announcements and the reactions to them more specifically. And the first thing I do is I kind of look for context. And we've had a busy night. And if you go back a bit, even busier. So, you all know what happened yesterday. We reversed the Wednesday Fed, as is usually the pattern. So, where does that put us? Well, if you take a look at a TPO view, we're kind of near a very recent low. And it's kind of like I posted this on Twitter and a few other places, kind of like we're dangling off the edge of the cliff again. And that's always an interesting spot. There's always opportunities hanging off the edges of cliffs. Meanwhile, what's happened in the last few hours is we've gotten pretty stable here, right around, call it 25 to 30-ish. And so keep an eye on that range. We're kind of at value. We're on the POC if you watch that on the VWAP. And if I'm going to crunch the volume together for the Globex session. So if you look at, the overall volume, we're kind of nicely symmetrical profile and we're kind of in the middle of it. There's big delta up above us, which is what you'd expect. I've got a little kind of miniature 30-minute footprint running here that we can kind of zoom out to. And let's do that real quick and just look at the context. So this is what I was talking about. We're like basically on value here with some real good absorption of the buyers at the top and the bottom, not as much. On the sell side, there were some stops right there. So, this could get interesting if we get to either end. And that's the primary thing I'm looking for, as a reaction to NFP or to any economic announcement. Do we test the edges of the range right away? If we do, I look to either fade it or go with it. And it's not automatically fade up here and sell up here and buy down here. Based on the market's overall position here, I'm much more interested in places to get short above us than places to get long below us. You're seeing stop runs at the lows a lot, and so those are actually decent places to scalp long. But it's also possible to get run over to the downside when you do that. So I'm keeping an eye on that. Again, the idea here is to find asymmetry. In other words, you're looking for a situation at one end of the range or the other, or with the momentum, where if you're wrong, it's obvious, and it's worth taking a risk putting a position on. Every trade's an opportunity to lose money, contrary to what new people think. Oh, every trade's an opportunity to make money. That's the wrong way to think. You want to think the other way around. You're putting yourself at risk when you enter the market. And as a scalper, which is primarily what I do intraday swings as well, but my primary mode is scalping. And to scalp, you really have to, if you're wrong, get out of the way. And if you're right, it should work pretty fast, Kind of have three rules about this. If you've been in any of my sessions before, you've heard them. The good trades tend to work right away. If you're sitting in a trade, you're either early, late, or wrong, if it's not working. So, I tend to look for trades that work pretty quick. If they're not, I question it right away if I'm sitting in a position that isn't doing what I got in it to do. The other thing is I like to take profits fast. So I always take profits, never went broke doing that. Maybe I leave some on the table. That's a much better thing to do than make mistakes. So good trades work right away. Always take profits and don't lose money is my other little quick rule for scalping, which is a simplified way of saying, if you're wrong, don't let it get out of hand. Because, it's really easy to do that, to get committed to a bias and have it go against you. And the trick, particularly if you're scalping in that scenario, is just to get flat and just get out of the way. So those three things kind of keep me focused on what I'm doing. And it works pretty well. So that's the plan. Anyway, NFP, I don't care what the numbers are, and I'm not predicting where we're going to go to or where we're going to stop if we start going one way or the other. I think that's completely daft, and anybody that thinks they can do that is fooling themselves, particularly in these market conditions. So it's all about what's happening right now, and is there a way to play that? Is there a way to play the odds of what's happening right now? Thinking in bets. That's what we do. Anyway, if you guys have any questions or comments, put them in the chat. We will try to get to them as time permits. This session will go till right before 6 a.m. my time, and it's 5:22 right now, so we'll go just before the top of the hour. Then this session will end. The regular TRG live trading session will start. If you're a TRG member, you'll have to go to the other link. It will be a completely separate session. So that's the plan. I'm going to do the play-by-play, and I'm going to trade it if I see good opportunities. I'm trading in one of several accounts here. On the ES, I'm trading in an eval that's copying to two funded accounts, and the same thing the other way around in the micros if we trade those. So I'm kind of set up to take advantage of opportunities, but if it's not a real clear one, I might just play it with the micros, or if, there's any sort of Zoom lag or anything like that. And if we see a really crazy good setup, I'll go ahead and play it with the minis, and I might scale into it. You never know. But I tend to try to use as few contracts as possible for as short a period of time. And that is all about risk management. Making money if you have an edge is easy. The trick is not losing money when your edge is wrong. And I don't care how good your edge is, it's some percentage of the time it's right, some percentage of the time it's wrong. Mine's pretty good. It's 80% plus. In scalping, I'm at 87% right now. So, I know my edge works, but I also know that the only real significant mistake I can make is letting a loser run and getting a big loser. Small losers don't hurt unless you have a lot of them, and that shouldn't happen either. If you're constantly taking small losses, then either you're reading it wrong or it's just not a tradable tape. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, from a technical perspective with respect to, which way are we likely to go next? I showed you guys the TPO view on the far left here. And by the way, that's across the board. We're hanging by our fingernails, particularly in ES and NQ. RTY kind of is trying to make a range down here, and so is YM. But there's air pockets below. Having said that, if you look at any of the other, kind of large scale technical indicators, we're at a spot where we should see some buyers at some point. 40, 50 is kind of the number below us that has been interesting to me to watch, but I don't use levels at all. It's just too easy for them to get run over, particularly under these conditions. ES has been trading more like NQ normally trades, and so you have to adapt to that. Oh, by the way, there's a couple things. If you're not a TRG member and you're wondering what you're seeing here, far left is a TPO view of the sessions. So each one of these TPO volume profiles is or TPO profiles, I should say, is a session. So this is the overnight. When we start the regular session, it'll make a new one. I'm running a 1 minute equivolume bars here, and that's the delta underneath it, just the bid-ask delta. I don't use any indicators except volume and price. These numbers you see above are just the volume of the swings. It's just a zigzag volume. I use linear regression to get a handle statistically on the range, and that's what you're seeing on these fast 15-second ones and on the ones in the middle. This is a Sierra footprint. I'm kind of handicapping the range. This is the top and bottom of the range. And then here I'm just kind of looking geometrically at it. I like to look at the relationship between a fast look at the range and a little bit slower one. So that's why there's two LRCs there. These are tapes for ES and NQ. I'm filtering for 3 or more and 5 or more just to kind of get a handle on what the energy or the momentum is. Like right there when it swept down, I can see right there that swept below the bid right in there, and then it got back up on the ask. So somebody is aggressively pushing down, and the buyers are kind of getting out of the way right now. As you can see that happening. So anyway, this is a dome for NQ. Right next to it is MNQ. This is the liquidity for ES. I have just the traded volume displaying here on my ES dome. The liquidity is running on a dome behind it, and that's what's plotting here on this Auction Vista map. And then this is MNQ on the far right. So we'll probably trade MNQ or ES, MES or ES. But if you see me pop this little one open down there, then I'm trading MNQ on that down there. But I doubt I'll do that for NFP. For NFP, I usually stick with ES and look to fade the range or join momentum. It's literally that simple. But of course, we have to have it and evaluate it properly for it to be that simple. Anyway, if you have any questions, throw them up in the chat. We'll try to get to them. JVC is here. He is our community manager and is going to kind of moderate the room as well. So you may hear him jump in, or he may answer your questions in the chat. And so let's see. I think that covers all the housekeeping. We have about 2 minutes to go here. Anything we need to add to that, JVC? Yes, we're recording, for those of you wondering that.
No, I think we should be good.
Okay, so let's get a 30-minute footprint. The indexes are going to be correlated for whatever the response is, and I normally like to watch correlation, but I just assume we're going to be correlated for this type of an event. So I really only watch ES and NQ. And here we go. Okay, we should have numbers any second, and so far the market's bidding up a bit. So, and I may or may not trade. By the way, guys, a lot of times I do like to trade these, but I'm not just going to trade to monkey trade. I'm going to want to see an opportunity that I like. And I've been trading for a few hours already this morning, and the action's been real good. I've got some nice profits in the bank. So I'm not in a hurry to give it back unless the setup looks interesting. Like looks potentially like a short up here, but you'd have to get into it higher up. So let's see. And I don't think the numbers are out yet. I'm watching my news over on the Jigsaw feed, and I don't see them yet. So let's see what happens here. I guess we're still a minute out, aren't we? I synced this clock yesterday or Wednesday when we were doing FOMC. I'll sync it again and make sure. Yeah, okay, we still have about 30 seconds. So. All righty, so lock and load. Take a deep breath, get ready to go. If nothing else, if there's no good trade set up, we still will get an idea what the open's going to look like based on the reaction to the numbers. So this is always worth doing. It just isn't always tradable. So that's kind of the scoop. And again, we will have some time for some open Q&A after the number, because it'll react, and then we'll either get a good trade setup or we won't. And then we'll have 20, 30 minutes to yak. Okay, numbers are out. We're trading a little bit up. This could set up a nice short. Let's see here. Ooh, it's getting bought. We're at the top of the range. Very interesting spot. I missed it. I was going to hit the market short there when we were sitting on 40. I did not get over to my button fast enough. So some of this I can do from my mouse, and now another push up. Good. Let's see if we can get up here to 50 or so. That might look interesting. That's coming up a little too strong to short right now, but 50 looks very interesting. It's probably going to overrun it, but I'm very tempted to get a short on up here somewhere. Oh, okay. I just grabbed one at the market there. It's already quite profitable. I tried to protect it and my protection got filled. So basically we just got 6 ticks really fast there. I did it through the micros and it's copying the 3 other accounts. So it's actually more than just 1 micro there, but I'm not being very aggressive because this is very sweepy. Sweepy, not sleepy, with a W. So again, if you can get a good entry up here, this is an interesting spot to play. It could bust out and go a little higher. I'm not saying just short randomly here, but so far it's been fairly aggressively sold up here. Look at the top of the footprint. They caught some stops up there. So, I'd love to get like a fill up here somewhere, in the 52, on the next squirt up. Look at all these, high volume selling up into the 50 area. So a push through there could get very interesting. I've got an order parked up here. Let's get that. Whoa, scoot down. Let's just scoot that down maybe to 51 and change if we happen to squirt up. I don't think we're going to. I think I had the red idea short, took profits quickly as I do. If we get another push up, maybe we'll enter this again, but it's basically finding value here is what it looks like it's doing. So that was a pretty quick opportunity. You had to be pretty nimble there. But we might get another shot at it. I don't think so. these tend to be, one reaction and you play the reaction or not. Here's the numbers, by the way, if you're interested. I really don't care what they are because it doesn't matter. What matters is the reaction to the numbers. But, that was a nice little short setup. I could have been a little more aggressive on it, but that's okay. Again, never go broke taking profits, even small ones. I've made $1,000 in a day trading a one lot micro just over and over. It's doable, and it's very low risk. You can manage risk real easily in micros. So again, I'm not just advocating for micros, but they are a good tool. Okay, this could be another spot to nibble short right up in here, but I want to see it push up a little bit more. Okay, that's good. 40. Let's get an order. I'm just going to park a couple orders up here. And if we get a squirt up into them, my odds will be good that I can catch some ticks coming back the other way. So, we probably already did that. The squirt up probably already happened, but let's see if we can catch another one. You could also argue to be short 40 right here. It's the area that's getting sold right in here, but I think that's dangerous. I think it could pop through there pretty fast and go back up in here, which is why I've got orders up there. So let's see if it comes up to me. There goes NQ, and I always watch NQ to lead, which it usually does. And right now, just so you get an idea where we're at, let me show you the correlation. And we're pretty much across the board. It looks roughly the same. So, and the index is a little bit more down in NQ, but again, it's rounding error stuff unless it's over 1%. So, why is that doing that? Okay, we're getting another little push up here. Maybe I can catch an entry. Yeah, basically what we're seeing in TRG, what we call ebb and flow. The market, it went into price discovery. We tested up. And, here, let's look at the 15-second view of that, and it'll be really clear what happened. So, this is where we were right beforehand, and the number came out. We tested the top of the range. It immediately got sold, and we didn't quite get back to the range, but we're building a new one right here, and that's why this is kind of a dangerous spot to play either way. We could easily get back up in here, which I would sell, but I wouldn't try to play long with this. That's not a good pattern to play long right now. So that's kind of what I'm looking at here between. If we can, it's coming up. All right, we might just get another shot at this. Let's see. I'm basically just trying to fade the edge of the volume, and this is that where the cyan turns gray. That's basically the volume at the value area edge, and then obviously the boundary of the session and volume tapers off real nicely. So getting filled anywhere up in here is relatively low risk, and could just the pullback could be a really nice little fade, and that's what I like to do. That's kind of my main mode of playing these little economic announcement games. So it could get another squirt up. It keeps acting like it's going to push up. So maybe most of the liquidity is up in here, in the high 40s. So this 45 one, I should at least be able to get that filled if we get moving at all to the upside. So that'll be a good one. Here it comes. All right, we might just get this trade. Let's see. And again, I'll take profits pretty fast on these because I'm kind of fading which way we're going, right? So short 45, I've got an order at 43. It's going to push up a bit more. I may be off sides. It could end up going up and not stopping. That does happen. Let's see. All right, now we got two on. So now we can take profits on the first one pretty quickly. Like right there. I'm going to cancel that other one and let's just see how it trades up here. If it gets going to the upside too much, I'm obviously off sides, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think we'll be able to get some profits here. Once the first one comes off quick, I might scoot the other one down and see if we can get it back into this. In fact, let's do that now. See if it'll drop back into the range, but we'll take this first one off pretty quick just to put some profits in the bank and make the second one just a profit runner. Again, it's got to start going down first though. So again, I could be off sides here. I don't think so, but there goes NQ. It just popped up. We're trading 50. So again, you gotta, be willing to take a little heat if you're going to do this. And, it could pop up from here. Odds are it will retrace when it does because of the kind of action we're seeing. But, you don't want to get overly committed to an idea and then just get totally off sides. So, I have been wrong and sometimes I am. We'll see. It's trading right on 50 here. And again, the possibility for a short squeeze is massive, but I wouldn't expect it this early in the morning. I'd expect this to trade back down, and here it goes. But again, we're going to take profits real fast on this just so we don't get caught offsides. If we are in fact offsides, look at those sweeps there. So this is going into price discovery again. It's a dangerous spot to play. Here we go. Okay, it's coming down to me. Let's get this first one off real fast. Okay, we got that. And let's see if we can protect it and try to do that. Probably can't protect it by much. Got filled. Okay, cool. So, I got 8 ticks there on that 2 lot. And now it looks like it wants to go up again. So I'm not in a hurry to jump in front of it. But this is obviously, an area that's in play here around 50. I think the odds are we're going to puke up here because we didn't drop aggressively like the first time. So I wouldn't be surprised if we push up and take out the shorts here and run some stops again. Look at that. We did that on the last push up here and on the pullback. So it's a very interesting spot for that. So, if we can get up into 60, might be the next spot that might be interesting to play. I wouldn't play this break long because it could turn around and come right back into the range really fast if it breaks to the upside, which is what I would expect to happen. So, fading it up here makes some sense. Trying to go long with it. It's not a trend. It's just squirting over there. So I don't want to join it at all. I want to fade it. And remember, the VWAP and POC are way down here in the 30s. So there's a lot of opportunity. Okay, let's see if we can take out the high and get short up here. There's 55. There's 60. So, I could front run 55 and 60 and see if we pop up there. And again, the presumption here is that we're going to take out stops and then reverse. If we just get a long trend going, I obviously would get out of the way. That's not what's happening here. This is not a long trend event, at least not yet. I think the potential for a short squeeze today is high, though, so it wouldn't shock me at all if we did get going to the upside. Okay, looks like we're about to get our break. Let's see what happens here. Again, I'm trying to get a fill up here into this liquidity just because that's always a good spot to fade, even if I only get 6, 8 ticks. But I'm not married to the idea that we're going down here. This is pretty aggressive on the buy side. So here we go. All right, it made it to 52.50. The ES likes to trade in the quarters, 50, 52.50, 55, 57.50, and then 0.0 again. That's very common behavior with ES. So kind of trading around that, particularly during the overnight session, the Globex session that we're in, is often a profitable technique. Boy, you could probably fade this right here, but it's trading mostly on the buy side. I think we're going to go through the high here again. And so again, if we took out 52.5, 55 is the next one up, and this would be filled at 54.75. So we'll see what happens. Boy, we're certainly consolidating up here, which usually means we're going to go higher, unless it's just all absorption, which is not what we're seeing. We're seeing trading on both sides of the tape up here, so I wouldn't conclude that this is just getting absorbed quite yet. And again, if you look at the TPO view over here on the far left, look what happened, with the big, massive drop down on the FOMC reversal. And, we're not far from getting back into that low volume area up there. So we could certainly run up to 4,200 fairly easily. So, you need to respect that that's possible. Anyway, this might be all the action we get. I'm not willing to get short here, even though it's not a horrible idea if this area holds. It just isn't the risk reward kind of ratio of feeling that I want to see. To short into this, you want to have it pop up into you and short and then come right back down. To look for to build a position when it's consolidating this much could be very dangerous. You could end up building it on the wrong side. So, but again, the tape is definitely on the sell side. If you look at all these, if my tapes are purples and pinks and reds, that's sell side stuff. You can see at the bid, below the bid. And if it's coming up greens and cyan and blue, that's on the buy side. And so, the sell side is getting hit and price is dropping. So, people are hitting the bid and the bid is getting chewed up and we're going down to the next bid. So, it's definitely moving down. But, again, if you were going to play that, you needed to be playing where I first faded it and not here. It's just too many people playing both ways. All right. So I'm going to keep an eye on this, and I've still got orders sitting up here. I don't think they're going to get hit in the next 15 minutes. But other than that, it's trading in price discovery, and I would not try to do this anything down in here in this area. It's going to have to either get to one end of the range or the other, or get some momentum going. And then, if we got a strong upside momentum, I would definitely join it, and that might be happening. So, so here's the opposite. Look at the trades going by on the ask, and is price getting lifted up? And the answer is no. The ask is absorbing the buyers, and we're trading right into the same price. So that's how you read what's going on here. So that's why it's not a long and it's not a short. It's being discussed. The debate is on right now as to which way to go. The market is having the conversation with itself. In TRG, we like to say the market's litigating the price. We're kind of litigating 42 here. If you imagine a bunch of lawyers in court arguing about whether the price should go up or down, that's kind of how I visualize this. And it's very difficult to game when it's doing that, because all it takes is one big player, one side or the other, like you just saw there, hitting the bid side, and we drop 2 points. So. All right. We have about 10, 15 more minutes. It's 5:43. I'm going to wrap this session up at 5:55, so we have time to take a quick break and then start the 6 o'clock TRG session. So if you have questions, stick them in the chat. I will endeavor to answer them. I don't think I'm going to get any more trades off here. It's the tape's quieting down into this kind of big price discovery range, and I'm just not willing to play that. It's probably still a short. It'll probably drift back down to this liquidity, but it's getting squirted around too much to just sit in a trade one way or the other, in my opinion. Lose my nose. I have a bit of a cold, and I also keep my trading room really cold, temperature cold, so my nose sometimes just runs. So I'm not doing cocaine. Although I have that much energy. All right. So you know what? This is just literally dribbling its way back to, the exact same spot we were at right before the number. You can see it's quietly fading this range. And so, there's not a lot you can do when that's going on. I think we're probably going to be, see, we're here, and this is the ebb and flow from the overnight. We got the numbers, we went up, great place to fade it. We came right back. This is such classic NFP or any other economic announcement behavior. And it's routinely tradable as long as you don't care what the number of the announcement is and don't have an idea what you think the number is going to make happen. It doesn't matter what you think. The reaction to the number is the reaction to the number, and you trade that. You don't say, well, it should be going down. That was a good number. That was a bad number. Don't think that way. You're not that smart, and nobody else is either. There's way too many variables to predict the future like that. But boy, I see people trying over and over again. Go out on Twitter, you'll see people saying, well, if the number comes in at, 5.3%, then we're going to go up to at least 4,400. And I'm like, that's such nonsense. I mean, there's just absolutely no way to correlate data like that in the short term or even the long term. It just doesn't work that way. Anyway, look at this. We're slamming the bid again, and it's getting absorbed right now. So buyers are absorbing these people hitting the bids. So we'll probably pop up a little bit, maybe up into 39. And there we go. You can see that coming if you learn how to read the tape. And see right there, they jumped in. You can see the buyers push the bid down, and then all of a sudden price starts, to come back up, and the ask gets lifted. So basically the guys on the buy side are more aggressive than the sellers are. So the sellers start getting out of the way. That's literally what happens. And we just saw that right into that liquidity right there, which is very typical. And now, again, it's doing the same thing to the downside. And unsurprisingly, we will end up kind of right back on the VWAP here, which is that blue line. And I don't use the VWAP to trade, but it's just a good reference point. The fact that we're back at it after slowly fading that high makes total sense. That's exactly what I'd expect. And when it's a little less volatile, you can certainly play that, get short up here and ride it down. But when you're seeing this back and forth movement in price discovery that we've been seeing, it just sitting in a position one side or another is how you end up developing a bias and losing money, because you're losing your focus on what's actually happening, and you're trying to make the market do what you think is going to happen, and that's very, very stupid. But everybody in their rookie days thinks they can do that. So anyway, enough about that. I will do any questions or comments you guys have. We still have a nice little drift down here going. Again, in the middle here at this time of day, I'm not interested in playing it, but I will definitely be interested in playing this at the open. So in the TRG session coming up, we will have a lot to talk about. Also, TRG members, this session this morning, I'm going to cover the 2 topics I put up in the pit this morning, using ES liquidity and range to enter and exit NQ and MNQ trades. That's topic number 1. And then also, if we have some time, I'm going to talk a little bit about tactics for trade copying, because I know some of you are testing copiers, and you really have to have your business intent clear if you're doing that, because obviously if you're copying, a mistake gets copied across multiple accounts, and so you can end up blowing up a lot of accounts at once. On the other hand, if you have something working routinely, it's a really good way to lower your risk without spending a lot more money in the process. So anyway, we will talk about those in the TRG session this morning. Time permitting, focus will be on trading first and foremost, obviously. And we're going to get a really good open here, I think. I say this to you guys a lot, that, this should be a really good open 5, or, today I think it's going to be quiet. We have all the pieces we need for a really good open 5 setup. I don't know why my instruments are sorting wrong again. They used to, GC and CL should not be in here. So hang on a second. Usually the instruments or the indexes are separate. Okay, there we go. So NQ leading down, but not even 1%. The rest are rounding errors. Volume is low, but not really low. It's been a lot lower the last few weeks on some days, and obviously a lot higher. So, I wouldn't be shocked if we test the other end of the range at the open and maybe it gets bought. That wouldn't stun me at all. So I think we're going to have a really interesting open 5 and initial balance trade set up today. So what questions can I answer? Guess I know there's a number of you here that are not TRG members. Welcome. And if we can answer any questions about anything that you saw me do or anything that you didn't see me do. Again, this continues to be kind of a slow, dangerous short to sit in. And so I'm not going to trade it anymore at the moment. Just going to watch it. Any questions, comments? Nothing? It's really quiet. We need to release the caffeine gas into the room, JVC.
There's my mute button. Jeez.
Have you seen those people that are selling unmute and mute yourself? They're selling these big red buttons that plug into your USB cord.
I have not seen that.
Oh yeah, they're all over Twitter and Instagram, and it's just USBs, and all it does is control your mute, because people get, they're Zooming and at work and whatnot, and people constantly lose their mute, or they go to the bathroom and they forget to mute. It's so funny. Capitalism at its finest. What can I say?
Indeed.
All right, so look at this. We are pushing the low end of the range, and this is the perfect setup. Listen carefully. This is the perfect setup for a long after the open if it pushes down lower and runs out of steam. This could set up a really nice long. Look at the TPO views here. Where is that low right there? It's not much lower than here where we are. Let me change to a line here. Crosshair. Where's my crosshair thing? That's it. Okay. So the first one is right there at like 11 and a quarter. And then the next one is at right on the big fat whole number at 4101. I would love to see a setup where, we push down really aggressively and, at some point low is low enough and the buyers step up. That could be a really great short squeeze long today. So definitely keep that in mind. Again, I'll talk more about it once we see what the open actually looks like, but it's feeling like that's what's setting up here. That's just, it's just a gut, but that's what this feels like. This is the 1 minute view. I'm going to zoom out to 5 minutes real quick and just look at where we are with respect to the initial balances of the last couple of days. There's that big FOMC trade. That happens every time there's a big move on FOMC day. And I always post on Twitter and people always say, no, we're going up, and then boom. This is such a good pattern to trade. Anyway, we talked about that in the FOMC session on Wednesday. Here's the initial balance from 2 days ago, we traded above that. That was the big breakout. Here's yesterday. We blew right through it and we're hanging on by our fingernails. That's why, again, if we can get it pushed down to the low end of this, we could certainly play back to here or here. And that would set up a really interesting long. Obviously, if it gets down there and it breaks down, it's an air pocket that easily will get to 40, 50 and probably a lot lower. So, if that low does break down at 4,100 and really gets going, I don't see what's going to hold us above 4,000 either personally, but, that doesn't mean it's just going to be a straight drop. But, this market definitely is acting nervous and low is not low enough yet. It's trying to put in a short-term bottom, but we just haven't seen it. So that's my interpretation. All right, let's see. Post FOMC market behavior. Can I explain the psychology that creates the reversal? Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, by the way. And you know what it is? It's really simple. Everything's really simple. What happens is there was a hint of, we might get a smaller, rate increase and things aren't as bad. Powell said it's not as bad as everyone thinks. So a slight hint of optimism is all it takes to get a short squeeze going. And that's what this was. This wasn't buyers saying, it's a great new economy, get long. This was shorts getting out of the way, George. And then as soon as they were done, the seller said, okay, the shorts are squeezed. Now we can reassert ourselves. And they do. That's the psychology behind it. You have to understand that the reason it went up was nonsense, and that's why it came right back down. And that anytime you see a significant move just on an economic announcement or FOMC or NFP or any of those things, your first gut instinct should be wait till it stops and fade it, because they often reverse. But, that's not, you can't just trade based on that. You have to learn how to interpret, whether it has actually gone high enough or not. But this one was just so clear that it was doing that. You had 100 opportunities to get short into that, the night, the overnight after FOMC, Wednesday night, and then Thursday morning. It was telegraphing that this was going to happen so clearly. All you had to do was pick a spot and get in. So, but that's a good question. And the key is that they're taking advantage of weak positions with whatever the quote unquote news is. And, I say news like NEWZ. It's not, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. It's always how much of a reaction can we create? Because, that's what people are going to trade into is the reaction. So, large traders are looking to create a reaction and then be part of that reaction. And so I've just learned over all the years, 50 of them, 50 trading, I have trade actually 51. I've learned in all those years that that's just the behavior. It's the psychology of extremes. So hopefully that makes some sense. All right, that was a good question. Any other questions? It's right on the time. I want to wrap this up so we can get organized for the TRG session that's going to start in just a few minutes. So TRG members, we will be with you shortly. Guests, thank you for coming. Hope it was educational. And I could have obviously traded more aggressively, kept my short all the way down here. We would have had a nice, 30-point winner, but I tend not to do that, and certainly in live sessions just because more risk and whatnot. So I take profits pretty fast. But, yes, certainly this was a legitimate short that you could have hung on to for the person asking me that question. All right. Thank you guys for coming. Thanks, Andrew. Congratulations on your getting funded on your Lilu. I saw you post that, Andrew. Good job. Now you have to protect it. Trade it really tight, like it's your money and people are trying to rip it out of your hands. Protect that until you get some profit under you. And having said that, burning desires, any final questions? JVC, anything you want to add?
Just one thing for the guests. If you're not already familiar with TRG that much or our material, go check out the free courses we've got at tradingresearchgroup.com and start learning what all this order flow stuff is about, because it's really cool.
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good point here. Real quickly, let me throw up the link, the education link, which has the free classes on it. And
don't throw up the link. I mean, that's terrible.
Put it up. Okay, I'm going to stick this in the chat.
I've been around the cats too much, clearly.
You have been around the cats, clearly. Yeah. Anyway, you can see the free classes right there, and there's also some low-cost paid classes and, of course, membership in TRG, which gets you all that stuff, and our live sessions, which we're about to start. So cool. Thank you for reminding me of that. We will wrap it up here. Last chance for questions. Don't see any. Okay. Have a good one, guys. We'll see the TRG members in just a few minutes.